in the Hindu tradition, Ganesh, he wrote the Bhagavad Gita with his tusk.
Hmm.
Odin is the source of the Havamal. But how
Hmm.
is the Havamal still preserved? How do we have that if a lot of the literature of
Yeah,
the Norse tradition is post Christianity?
right. So, the question of when the poetry itself was composed is an ongoing and probably eternal um, debate in the scholarship, right? Because one thing that's why poetry tends to be preserved for a long time as well, is that poetry has structure, right? Poetry has linguistic and um, rhythmical structure that follow very strict rules, right? This is a very common thing in poetry in general. You have to have as many syllables, and then it has to rhyme here and there. There's very strict rules. So that structure is very hard to break. So it's very hard. It's a much easier way, or perhaps it's a more secure way of preserving knowledge.
Mhm.
Because if you change anything, and if you don't do it well, you're going to break the whole structure of the poem, which breaks apart, right? So poetry tends to be very useful for sort of preservation of knowledge because people can learn it. And people sort of that has its rhythm and it works. The rhythm works. Its rules work. It's the rhyming works, and it's easier to remember, right? And it's something that seems to have been used all over the world. It's an idea that the use of poetry is a very useful method, is a very useful tool for preservation of knowledge, and that is one of the reasons we have a lot of these older poems is that they were preserved in memory and in oral tradition. They were recited over and over, and the people learned them and they did it over multiple generations until some people decided maybe we should write it down. Maybe we should have it written down, and then we have a written version of it. So that seems what has happened there. There is a move over from oral traditions into written traditions. And poetry is sort of this very, very rife for preserving structure. So yes, there are it's sort of that's why it remains, right? It's very useful.